Today is Sunday, the 19th of April, 2026. I'm Kanji, and today I brought a poem to share with you. And the name of the poem is A Song of the Grass Roof Hermitage. A Song of the Grass Roof Hermitage. So this poem was written in the 8th century by our Chinese Dharma ancestor, Shi To Si Chen. And it's one of two very famous poems that he wrote. The other one is one that we chant here on staff, and the residents chant it every Wednesday afternoon, the harmony of relative and absolute. And we used to chant that at Sesshin also and at some other time, so some of you may remember that. But we've never chanted this Song of the Grass Roof Hermitage in our zendo, although it's very commonly chanted in other zendos. So this Shi To, who wrote the poem, his dates are 700 to 790, and he's considered to be the 8th generation of Zen. So that means 8 generations, Dharma generations, 8th in the lineage from Bodhidharma. Bodhidharma, of course, I can see my paper, and that's just... Bodhidharma, of course, is the first ancestor who came... Chinese ancestor who came from India and brought Zen to China. And the other one in those early days that's well known is the 6th ancestor, the 6th patriarch, Dajian Huineng. Huineng, remember, is the illiterate woodcutter who, as a young man, heard the Diamond Sutra being chanted in the marketplace and immediately became enlightened and decided that he needed to travel north to study Zen. And when he traveled north, he was rejected both for being of the wrong ethnicity and for being illiterate, but he eventually became our 6th ancestor, and that's sort of a foundational story for us. Well, Shi To, the one that wrote the poem that we're looking at today, is supposed to have studied with Dajian, but according to the dates that are left behind for these two guys, Huineng would have died when Shi To was only 13 years old. So it may not be likely that he studied with Huineng, or if he did, it wasn't for long. But Andy Ferguson, who wrote the book Zen's Chinese Masters, has this to say about Shi To. He says, Shi To Si Chen is a key figure of early Zen development. 3 of the 5 traditional schools of Chinese Zen trace their origins through Shi To and his heirs. Shi To's Zen lineage is sometimes remembered as the Hunan school, and along with Mazu's Hongzhou school, these two comprise the root of all subsequent Zen schools and lineages down to the present day. So ours included, and ours is through Shi To. There's very little that's known definitely about his life. There are a few teaching stories and anecdotes that are recorded about him. But I'm going to skip over that and just read to you one record. It's not really a teaching story, but it's just a record that remains about him. And it says, in the first year of the Qianbao era, which is 742, of the Tang Dynasty, the master, that's Shi To, took up residence at South Temple on Hang Mountain. East of the temple, there was a stone outcropping. The master built a thatched hut on top of this spot, and he was thereafter referred to as monk Shi To. So if that's true, that means that not only is he writing a poem here about living in a grass hut, but this is actually the way he practiced. This is something that he experienced. So putting on my historian's hat, I would also say, though, that it's equally possible that since he wrote this poem, and this poem was so famous, people just assumed, and the story grew up, that he lived in a grass hut. So we don't really know whether he did or not. But definitely he's talking in this poem about the life of a hermit and the grass hut as a metaphor to talk about our practice, to talk about enlightenment, and just to talk about our lives as beings with a body. So what I want to do right now is just read you the whole poem, and then we'll go back and look at it more closely. But I just would like to read you the whole thing. It's 7 stanzas, and so just to see how it all fits together and what it's about. I've built a grass hut where there's nothing of value. After eating, I relax and enjoy a nap. When it was completed, fresh weeds appeared. Now it's been lived in, covered by weeds. The person in the hut lives here calmly, not stuck to inside, outside, or in between. Places worldly people live, he doesn't live. Realms worldly people love, he doesn't love. Though the hut is small, it includes the entire world. In 10 square feet, an old man illumines forms and their nature. A great vehicle bodhisattva trusts without doubt. The middling or lowly can't help wondering, will this hut perish or not? Perishable or not, the original master is present, not dwelling south or north, east or west. Firmly based on steadiness, it can't be surpassed. A shining window below the green pines. Jade palaces or vermilion towers can't compare with it. Just sitting with head covered, all things are at rest. Thus this mountain monk doesn't understand at all. Living here, he no longer works to get free. Who would proudly arrange seats trying to entice guests? Turn around the light to shine within, then just return. The vast inconceivable source can't be faced or turned away from. Meet the ancestral teachers. Be familiar with their instruction. Bind grasses to build a hut and don't give up. Let go of hundreds of years and relax completely. Open your hands and walk, innocent. Thousands of words, myriad interpretations, are only to free you from obstructions. If you want to know the undying person in the hut, don't separate from this skin bag here and now. So that's the poem. And the first thing that I want to say about it is whether or not Sherto himself lived in a grass hut as a hermit, it was a thing, and it is a thing. And it had been a thing at the time that Sherto lived, probably for a couple of thousand years already, that people would go off into the mountains and live as hermits and either practice the Dharma or the Tao or whatever their practice was. So I don't know if any of you have seen this incredible documentary called Amongst White Clouds. Has anybody seen that? I recommend it if you haven't. It's a film by Edward A. Berger, and it's filmed in the Zhongnan Mountains of China, and he actually goes around and finds these guys who are living as hermits in the mountain and interviews them, and it's really amazing. So it is a thing that's done. But the poem isn't only about people who are living in grass huts, because on another level, we're all living in a grass hut, right? We're in this body that's impermanent and imperishable, prone to sickness, old age, and death. And we're constantly confronted with circumstances that are impermanent and beyond our control. And our response to that is to try to collect things of value that we think will give us some measure of control. Could be money, nice place to live, degrees, college degrees, having a good reputation. These are all good things to have, but of course they can all be blown down in a minute by circumstances that are completely beyond our control. But the poet here says, I've built a grass hut where there's nothing of value. So he's seen through this. He's recognized impermanence. He's taken it on board. But notice that this isn't something that just happens. Sherto says, I've built a grass hut. That is, he has worked on it. He's had to bind grasses. And as we're about to see, this particular hermit is an old man. So we can assume that the grass hut that he's built is the result of many years of practice and hard work. And what's the result of all his practice and hard work? After eating, I relax and enjoy a nap. And that's very much how practice is. We work and strive and struggle, and then in the end, or at some point, we find out there's nothing we have to gain, nowhere we have to go. There's nothing that we have to get that we didn't have already. We're told that when Master Dogen came back to Japan from China, people asked him, what did you realize? What great realization did you have in China? And he said, my nose is vertical and my eyes are horizontal. So here, after eating, I relax and enjoy a nap. It's as Master Linchi also said, when hungry, eat your rice. When tired, close your eyes. Fools may laugh, but the wise will understand. All right, now, I actually have a secret surprise for you this morning. If you will look under your mats where Master Hakuin's chant generally is, we have a copy of this poem. I know that it can be really hard to just take this in by listening, especially if you're a visual learner. So yeah, and those of you who are in chairs, there's extra ones under the mats nearby. And Truman, there's one under the teacher's mat there, or something like that. Everybody find one?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're at the first verse here. I've built a grass hut where there's nothing of value. After eating, I relax and enjoy a nap. And then I'm picking up right here. When it was completed, fresh weeds appeared. Now it's been lived in, covered by weeds. So in Zen teaching, weeds most often refer to defilements, to those endless blind passions that we haven't yet uprooted. And when we first come to practice, we may suddenly become aware of the number and depth of our defilements. It may be actually quite distressing. Another thing that can happen when we first start to practice is we just take a look at what's actually going on in our minds for the first time, and we can be shocked by all the busyness there, the sheer number of the thoughts, their stickiness, their intractableness. And then later on in practice, have the number of thoughts decreased? Maybe, maybe not. But definitely it's our relationship to them that's changed. We realize that the thoughts come and go, and they don't have to be bothersome. They're weightless. And the defilements still arise, but we're more aware of how they arise, how they can pass. We're less caught up by them. And again, when we're starting out in practice, any insight that we have or special experience that we have might be followed by a lot of excitement, even pride. Those are the fresh weeds. But later on, once you're a little bit more to laugh at yourself, then you can be covered with weeds without needing to freak out about them. It says, our teacher John Sensei so often says, I'm an ass, you're an ass. That's John Pauline's Dharma. So going on to the next verse. The person in the hut lives here calmly, not stuck to inside, outside, or in between. Places worldly people live, he doesn't live. Realms worldly people love, he doesn't love. Though the hut is small, it includes the entire world. In 10 square feet, an old man illumines forms and their nature. Right in that place. We don't have to go somewhere else to do the work. We don't have to find someplace perfect. We don't have to be someone perfect. Even if we're covered by weeds, that's the perfect place to work. The lotus flower grows out of the mud. In 10 square feet, an old man illumines forms in their nature. So this is where we find out that we're reading about an old man. And I don't think I noticed this so much when I first read the poem as a younger person, but now reading it as an older person, I feel like it's very much an old person's poem. That it's not just about being in a body, but being in an old person's body, covered with weeds, not so beautiful anymore. A body that enjoys taking a nap after lunch. So that kind of enjoyment, it can be the fruit of practice, but I think maybe it's also just a fruit of growing older. I've heard from a lot of people, whether practicing or not, that one of the things that they appreciate about old age is being less self-conscious, less attached to achievements, to trying to impress anyone. So going back to the poem, though the hut is small, it includes the entire world. In 10 square feet, an old man illumines forms and their nature. A great vehicle Bodhisattva trusts without doubt. The middling or lowly can't help wondering, will this hut perish or not? We can't help wondering about the future, about what will happen. What will happen when this body collapses, when we die? What will happen at the end of the kalpa, when the whole world collapses and dies? In this lifetime, what might happen if war comes, if hunger comes, if environmental destruction comes? How can we exert some control over these things? But of course, practice is about coming to terms with our fundamental lack of control. A great vehicle Bodhisattva trusts without doubt. So there's a close relationship between coming to terms with our fundamental lack of control and our trusting without doubt. It's really only to the extent that we can trust without doubt that we can let go and be okay with not being able to control. There's that wonderful Tibetan saying, teaching, you can either try to pave the whole world with leather, or you can make yourself a pair of shoes. So as long as we're trying to fix up, control our external circumstances, that's an endless task, and we're doomed to frustration. But the Buddha Dharma teaches us instead to work with our own minds. That's how we put on our sturdy pair of shoes. Accepting completely that things are as they are, at the same time trusting completely in our Buddha nature, that's how we can go out into the world as bodhisattvas, responding to situations, doing whatever good we can see to do. But the middling or lowly, which all of us also are, as well as being bodhisattvas, can't help wondering, will this hut perish or not? Perishable or not, the original master is present, not dwelling south or north, east or west. So we're in this unstable body and these unstable circumstances, but Shurto assures us, perishable or not, the original master is present. Roshi Kapleau used to say, you can't fall out of the universe. You also can't stop being a Buddha. Going on with the poem, firmly based on steadiness, it can't be surpassed. Firmly based on steadiness. This practice of ours, it may seem flimsy. A grass hut is flimsy, but it's based on the steadiest thing. A shining window below the green pines, jade palaces, or vermilion towers can't compare with it. Just sitting with head covered, just doing this practice, Shurto says, just sitting with head covered, all things are at rest. Thus this mountain monk doesn't understand at all. This is such a blessed place to arrive at. Knowing to the core, you don't understand, you don't know, you can't grasp it, you can't explain it, and you don't have to. Freedom. Shurto says, thus this mountain monk doesn't understand at all. Living here, he no longer works to get free. Who would proudly arrange seats trying to entice guests? So this line about the seats and the guests may be a little bit mysterious. On a little literal level, we could say he's talking about the life of a hermit. A hermit doesn't have to worry about hosting anyone, about having the correct furniture or the correct food. If somebody does happen to stop by, they're probably there for some Dharma teachings, not expecting any kind of luxurious reception. And then, of course, if we put it up to the next level, if we're not literally talking about a hermit, nevertheless, through practice, we can come to a place where we're not quite as worried about impressing other people, not fretting about our reputation. But besides that, there's a tradition in Zen of speaking about host and guest in a very specific way to elucidate our practice. So the host is the one that's always there, the one that's not perishable, the original master, now not dwelling south or north, east or west. If we think of Sherto's other famous poem, The Harmony of Relative and Absolute, this is the absolute side, the imperishable original master. The guests, on the other hand, are the relative world. The guests are the ones that come and go. So it could be people that come and go, but in terms of meditation practice, it's also our thoughts that come and go, our feelings, emotions, pain and pleasure, everything that's impermanent, everything that's based on cause and effect. But as Sherto makes clear in his other poem, these two, the relative and the absolute, are not really two. They're not really separate. And that's where the poet's headed in the last couple of verses. But before we get to those last verses, I want to share something from a teacher called Ben Conley, who has written a commentary on Sherto's poem. And I want to share part of his commentary on this particular line, the line that says, "Who would proudly arrange seats trying to entice guests?" So Conley says, most of us go through our lives trying to entice guests, or as the Buddha often described it, chasing after sense pleasures. Experiences, thoughts, and feelings are all guests. The basic human condition is to try to acquire and keep the ones we want. Sherto asks rhetorically, who would do this? Why would we keep engaging in this unsatisfactory runaround? But he's also back to that old question, who is this person? Sherto is giving you an instruction. Find out who's doing the chasing, instead of focusing on the things that you chase. Turn around the light to shine within. Don't try to entice guests. Ask instead, who? If what I sense, feel, and understand are guests, if my sense of I is a guest, then who is hosting? Who is the host to all these guests? Don't ask this with your mind, and don't spend time on answers. Ask with your heart. Ask with your posture. Ask with bare awareness. Sherto continues, turn around the light to shine within, then just return. The vast, inconceivable source can't be faced or turned away from. This vast, inconceivable source, we can't see it. We don't know what it is. We can't grasp our true nature. But at the same time, we can't get away from it. There's nowhere we can go where we can be apart from it. Sherto says, meet the ancestral teachers. Be familiar with their instruction. Bind grasses to build a hut and don't give up. Let go of hundreds of years and relax completely. Open your hands and walk, innocent. Thousands of words, mirrored interpretations, are only to free you from obstructions. If you want to know the undying person in the hut, don't separate from this skin bag here and now. So with these last two verses, so I'm starting at turn around the light to shine within through the end. And with the rest of the time that we have, I want to do something a little bit different. I want to share with you an approach to reading with text, to reading texts and engaging with texts that comes from the Christian tradition, where it's called Lectio Divina. Self-arranged. So Lectio Divina translates as sacred reading, but in our context, we might think of this not so much as sacred reading, as just contemplative reading or meditative reading. So it's a participatory practice. That's part of the reason you all have your sheets there. And part of the purpose of this practice is to pull us out of an intellectual approach to what we're reading and more into an open, heart and body centered approach. So here's how it works. We choose a text. In this case, it's the last 2 verses of this poem. And we read it through 3 times. We've already heard it once, so we'll do it twice more. And as we're listening to this text being read, everybody just listen for a single word or a short phrase that for whatever reason jumps out at you when you hear this text read. So that's the first step, is just to choose a word or a phrase that is drawing you in to this poem today. And then we're going to go into a brief round of meditation, about 5 minutes. It's not really meditation though, but what you're going to do is take the word or the phrase that you chose from the poem, take that into your meditation with you, and just sit with it for the 5 minutes and open to it. You can just rest with it quietly. So you're just returning to that word or phrase the same way you would normally return to your practice. But you're open to anything that arises. It might be an image, an emotion, an insight, memory, something that inspires you. So we'll just see what comes up. And you're inquiring of this word or this phrase, what is this saying to me today? Why did this jump out at me? How does this fit not only with the rest of the poem, but with my life today? And speaking of the rest of the poem, it's fine to look back at the poem at any point as you're doing this also. You can also just rest with the word. Just let it work on you. So then after the 5 minutes, people will have a chance, if they wish to share the word or phrase they chose and anything that came up. Actually, I think I'm going to split this into 2 parts. And then the first part, we'll just do the reading and the choosing. And then we can hear from some people what word they chose. Then we'll go ahead and do the meditation part with it. And yes, at the end of that, there will be a chance to share, but just if you want to. So that's why I was trying to ask you about the bell, Truman. Do you have the bell?
You want the bell, okay.
Truman said, I don't understand what you're talking about.
I have no idea.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read these 2 verses a couple more times. And your job is just to find a word or a phrase that you would like to work with. Turn around the light to shine within, then just return. The vast, inconceivable source can't be faced or turned away from. Meet the ancestral teachers, be familiar with their instruction. Bind grasses to build a hut and don't give up. Let go of hundreds of years and relax completely. Open your hands and walk, innocent. Thousands of words, myriad interpretations, are only to free you from obstructions. If you want to know the undying person in the hut, don't separate from this skin bag here and now. Turn around the light to shine within, then just return. The vast, inconceivable source can't be faced or turned away from. Meet the ancestral teachers. Be familiar with their instruction. Find grasses to build a hut and don't give up. Let go of hundreds of years and relax completely. Open your hands and walk, innocent. Thousands of words, myriad interpretations, are only to free you from obstructions. If you want to know the undying person in the hut, don't separate from this skin bag, here and now. Maybe let's just go down this row. Has everybody got a word or a phrase to work on? So, Deb, maybe if we could go down this row and just hear from people the word or phrase that they chose. And this is just basically so I can make sure that people aren't confused about the instructions.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, just share your word or phrase with us.
Having trouble reading. The great source cannot be
How about we
Cannot
turn
be
up the
faced
lights?
or
I
turned
didn't
away
even think
from.
of that. Okay. All right. James, did you have him?
Bind grasses to build a hut and don't give up.
Shine within.
If you want to know the undying person in the hut, don't separate from this skin bag here now.
Okay, so I'd recommend for most of you, if you have chosen something similar, Bill, what was yours again?
Shine within.
Yeah. That's an easier kind of thing when it's that short to take in. So you can look back at the thing and figure out what your whole phrase is if you need to, but try to choose, like a nub, just one word or small bit that will remind you of that whole thing. Okay?
Here now.
You're not. Okay. Be there.
Find grasses to build a hut and don't give up.
Yes, so you could say bind grasses, or you could say don't give up.
Open your hands and walk innocent.
Okay, so we're going to do 5 minutes with choices. So we have people sitting with us online too, and sorry, I forgot to mention that Sensei would be sharing the text with you online, so I hope that worked out. But let's see if there's a few people in the Zendo who would like to share their word or phrase and anything that came up as an insight. Then we'll go to the people online.
Bind grasses. Every moment, binding them, letting them go, building a hut.
For me, it was don't give up. And the first thought came into my mind is how will I speak and if the folks would understand me or not. So my mind was making a statement, how to say it. And just my heart started beating faster. Then I went back to my original koan and I started working on it. My heart is still beating faster, but I call it fear or ego. But yeah, don't give up.
Yeah, I took "don't give up" also. To me, that phrase jumps out as such a sort of surprise in the poem, and so emotional because for all of us, I think that's just been an emotional part of our practice, and I can, just sort of see my teacher saying, "You don't have anything to be discouraged about."
It's interesting that because I stuck on "let's go, let go," and it's interesting that follows "don't give up." So
I chose innocent, and a lot of sadness came up for me because I took innocent to to let go of concepts, and I've been very painfully self-critical, seeing how I've hurt people. And despite all my efforts, sometimes continue to do so.
I also chose innocent, David, and what I'm taking from that is, and what I have been working on for some time, is allowing myself to fail and understanding that there are no real expectations for me. And sometimes I do well and sometimes not so well. The effort is the important part, and a nice side effect of working on that within myself is it allows me to see that for other people as well. That everybody's just here.
Thank you.
My take on binding was a little bit different. If the stalks of grass are thoughts and emotion, binding means organize them, put them together, and then put them together to build a hut and forget about it. It's not about fighting them, forgetting your thoughts and feelings and ideas, but understanding that that is the foundation of your hut, getting to know them and organizing them.
I also chose buying grasses. I thought that it spoke to taking something that's abundant and all around us and putting in some effort and persistence to create something out of it.
Wonderful, different interpretations. How about people online? Maybe we can do a kind of popcorn there.
Yeah, I'll just take a minute here. Joe's gonna switch over,
Oh, okay.
and Sensei will probably speak up. We're good. Okay.
So for the folks that are online, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. If you hear someone speaking, mute yourself so that your background noise doesn't interfere. So it looks like Nathaniel will be first. Go ahead, Nathaniel.
Hello everyone. I picked hundreds of years because I've heard teachings how we have accumulated suffering from many past generations. So I think that's something we often forget. Letting go of hundreds of years meant a lot to me.
I also chose that part of that line, let go of hundreds of years, with a focus on let go. And I took it as letting go of hundreds of years of conditioning. And it also connected with what Kanji said earlier, that Roshi Kapleau said about not falling out of the universe. You can't fall out of the universe. And it was just, it fit in for me with the letting go, because I was taking the letting go of, it's okay, it's safe to let go of all my thoughts of planning and strategizing. If I let go, I'll still be safe. And it's okay to let go of all those thoughts. So that was really helpful for me.
I chose and walk innocent, and which is following the let go phrase that others have mentioned, but walk innocent just seemed like walk innocent is so, there's a lot of baggage normally that I carry, and so to walk innocent means to take action, to practice with innocence, with innocence, even though there's the hundreds of years are there, but anyway, that's very powerful. stuff there, in that poem.
Go ahead, Graham.
Hi, yeah, I let go. I chose let go of hundreds of years and relax completely, which meant to me let go of social conditioning that confines me, and it also reminded me of the strange advice of if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. That the idea to me suggested the same. Letting go of constraints, of conceptualization. It suggests to me a desire to let go of limited human concepts and images of, well, the divine or perfection, allowing for a deeper and more profound understanding and experience of who we are and the mystery that is. So this is very relaxing to me too. I mean, it'd be a great thing to kind of repeat to myself as a mantra before going to sleep at night.
I think we have time for one or two more people to share or to ask any questions. Then it looks like we're running out of our time, so.
For me, the gathering of weeds, I don't have to gather them, they just pop up. Sitting here in meditation. And so, yeah, these weeds are always around, and so I don't know if meditation is gathering the weeds or whatever, but sometimes first part of my meditation is letting go of those weeds. You know, the other phrase I liked was the innocence, the curiosity of a child. And I'm thinking I should bring that into my practice and be curious about the weeds that just pop up rather than beating myself up for having them. So that was my take on it. So.
Oh, sorry, Joe. I guess you can't do online and in Zendo at the same time?
I don't know.
Okay, well, everyone who needs a chance to share something has gotten a chance then. Thank you all for diving into this and doing something different today.
And Professor, may we take the sheet home with us, the poem?
Yeah. Absolutely. So we should recite the 4 vows. Who starts that?